Hey, so I'm doing another perpetual chess bonus video. This one is just me, and I wanted to show a position I came across from IM Willy Hendriks' new book, The Philosopher and the Housewife. IM Willy Hendriks is one of my favorite authors. He's written so many good books. My two personal favorites are his first two, Move First, Think Later, which is chess improvement focused, and On the Origin of Good Moves, which is about the evolution of chess ideas, but also will give you some sort of advice that can help your chess, and is just a fun read. And then he continued the trilogy with The Ink War and the newest, The Philosopher and the Housewife, which I also enjoyed. And I came across this amazing position from The Philosopher and the Housewife that I just had to share with you guys. So let's get to it. So this position is from Tarrasch-Gunsberg, 1887. Tarrasch, of course, being the stronger player. Before we try to find the best move for white, you might want to make quick note of the overall landscape. Material is even. Obviously, black's king is under a bit of fire here, but white does need to act quickly because his pieces are kind of optimized. Like, black has some back rank threats with rook d1, and so it's hard for white to improve any pieces. This rook, of course, is not under attack because of the pin, but if white doesn't consider dynamic choices, it's possible the attack could fizzle out, and then you would have to worry about your inferior pawn structure with this isolated pawn on c5 and the pawn on a2. So just a few things to keep in mind, but I want you to try to find the best sequence for white. So pause the video. The only advice I would give is when you look at forcing moves for white, be sure to look at all forcing replies for black. So go ahead and pause it, and then we're going to take a look. So there are two main moves that you can look at here as white, and both of them have kind of cool twists. So one natural move that you might try, and there's only one move that wins here for white, and only two moves that can really try for an advantage. First of all, you have this nice rook takes b7 idea. So if this was what you came up with, you get an A for effort, but guess what? You got the answer wrong. So the main idea here might be that if king takes, now we can go queen check, and then when the king returns, we're mating black here in the corner. That would be great. And you might look at, well, what about queen takes, the more natural reply? And congrats if you spotted this cool deflection where you could play bishop takes pawn, pinning the queen to the king. But guess what? So if queen takes bishop, now we have checkmate. But guess what? In this position, black has a resource. After rook takes pawn, we don't take the rook right away. What we can do is throw in this desperado check. And now notice the queen takes away the escape square of the king. This check is going to be a theme. So white's only way to stop the back rank mate is knight to e1. But now we can again deflect the white queen, take. White has to take the rook. And now black emerges, the smoke clears, and black is up material. We've got a queen, a rook, and two pieces against a queen, a rook, and one piece, and of course this bishop is pinned. So black would have outwitted white here, and you get an A for effort, again, if you spotted rook takes b7, but if black is exhausting all dynamic possibilities, unfortunately it doesn't work. But there's another line, and this is the one that Tarrasch correctly spotted, but this one is tricky as well. So Tarrasch spotted rook a6, which at first glance, I'm often guilty of this. You just see a move and you think, oh, that's it. I found it. Good job, me. On to the next one. But again, you have to look at all forcing moves, all checks, captures, and threats for your opponent. Of course, the main point of this move is we've now got three attackers on this vulnerable a7 pawn. The queen can't move away because then we would just take and trap the king in the corner. For example, here, 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 this is mate. And there's no way to guard this again. So black, if they were to take, again, the bishop swoops in with check and we're winning the queen, we would win the game. But the problem is that black again has this desperado check, taking advantage of white's own vulnerable back rank. So black can play rook d1 check. And this is probably what Gunsberg was relying on against Tarrasch. This is certainly how the game played out. White has to block, and now we can deflect the queen. So we take, they take, and now it looks like maybe black has gotten out of the woods. Black traded bishops. This is obviously a strong attacking piece. And it doesn't make a big difference if they play rook takes or bishop takes bishop. White takes back, rook takes rook, queen takes rook. This is all pretty forced. And now black can take the rook, and while black is not winning, it would have been reasonable for Gunsberg to think, I'm escaping with a draw, the main line being after we take the rook, which we need to do in order to not be down material, white can go check, block, and it looks like white has a perpetual in hand. Check, 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 over and over. until the draw is announced. But it turned out that there's one last twist, one last trick, which is after queen b8 in one of these positions, Tarrasch can unveil queen e4 check. And it might seem like, hey, we're down a piece. Is this going to be enough? Obviously, black's only move is to block. Now, what is different about queen e4 compared to queen c6? Now the c-pawn can advance. So the queen blocks. And now we continue to look for forcing moves. We play c6. Notice that the check on b1 is blocked. And now if something like queen b8, obviously the pawn is going to advance. Queen c8, same story. We're advancing, discovered check, and then we're going to promote and win the game. So that's not an option. So instead in this position, black has to blockade the pawn. And after queen check, queen here, this might be where you give up, and white might think, well, I guess I should go for the draw, go for the perpetual that we mentioned earlier. And remember, this is an 11-move sequence. Tarrasch saw all this way from the beginning, but actually he has a winning move here. Black does have an extra piece, but the knight is hopelessly offside, and Tarrasch saw that after queen d7, the white pawn is now unstoppable. Black has one spite check down here on b1, but it doesn't change anything, and white's pawn is going to the promised land. So an amazing sequence. I mean, really, again, 11-move tactic from the beginning with rook a6. And it's easy to be drawn to either rook a6 or rook b7, the sort of fanciness of the move, and think, well, that's it. That just wins. But again, you have to look at all of your opponent's dynamic resources, and you have to stay with the story. Keep looking at forcing moves. And when you do that, at first, it looks hopeless. But if you stay with it, or not hopeless, but drawn, but if you stay with it, eventually you can find this amazing winning line. So as for my overall thoughts of The Philosopher and the Housewife, so again, you should listen to the podcast that will also be on this channel with IM Willy Hendriks. But I mean, he's an amazing writer. He goes so deep on these eccentric personalities. And I think, obviously we got a lot of chess drama these days, a lot of people arguing about various things. But I think it was even crazier back then. He calls, as we discussed in the pod, he calls Aaron Nimzowitsch, of course, famously the author of My System, big braggadocious guy. And he says he's the most self-aggrandizing chess player in history, which I think he might be right. Out of all the egoistic chess players, Nimzowitsch might have been the greatest one. But it's a fascinating book about the sort of evolution of chess ideas and about this rivalry and about misconceptions about chess history. But mainly I wanted to show you this position from the book. So Philosopher and the Housewife, as I said in the interview, 75% words and chess history, 25% chess, but it's nice when you can come across a position like this. And I will link to the game for anyone who wants to delve deeper. So thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe, by the way. I'm terrible at YouTube, so I always forget to say that, but please subscribe. Okay, bye.